I'm Bishop Peter Brignall, Bishop of Wrexham, and I'm here in Holywell at the shrine of St Winifred and the well of St Winifred, an inspiration in itself to many young people. Winifred's own story of giving herself in consecrated life. But that was in the past. In the present, as was the case then, water still springs up. New life of vocations, new life in consecrated life springs up within the church. And here therefore is an appropriate place to begin this invitation to vocation, to consecrated life.
Our monastic life here at Minster is one aspect of the tremendous variety and beauty. And I think really because God is so much bigger and more amazing than we can imagine, this is why we have so many different expressions of His life in the church. And the multitude of religious communities and congregations somehow reflects always a specific aspect of the beauty and just the generosity of God.
We wear our habit as a sign of a witness to Christ, so people can see the habit and they can see that we've given our life to Christ. Some sisters don't wear habits because they do more active work, but for us, we stay in the monastery and prayer is our main role.
We are Sisters Hospitallers. Our full name is Hospitallers of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, but we are well known by Sisters Hospitallers. Our congregation begins to cover a need in the church and in the society, taking care of women with mental health.
We want the best in the care. We want to provide them what is the best for them in order to live in the dignity and to recover as much as possible. So we try to give them the best to live this last time of their lives with dignity and if possible, the happiest one.
Our little community here, in our community life, we base our life on a rhythm of prayer. But obviously, throughout the day, we do all the things that need to be done. So we have a kind of rhythm, a backdrop of the periods of prayer when we come together as a community to pray. We start early in the morning with vigils and we finish in the evening with night prayer. But the big focus, of course, for us each day is the celebration of the Eucharist.
Our main job for the church is we pray on behalf of the whole church. So several times a day we gather together in the chapel and we sing the Divine Office.
The periods of public prayer of the church that we celebrate together are absolutely essential for our life. And then there are the times that, where we have time for our personal prayer, where we have time for our personal Lectio Divina, the prayerful reading of the scriptures.
We begin the day with the morning prayer. We set ourselves aside for silence and meditation, where we take this moment as a very important moment for our daily life. We consecrate ourselves on that day to God. We take this time also to present the day activities. We present the people that we work with and those that we serve.
For us, Sisters Hospitallers, prayer life is very important. We are convinced that only prayer can give meaning to our life, to the service that we do, and to our entire being. That's why we start early in the morning with morning prayer, meditation, and the Holy Eucharist as the center of our life.
A lot of people looking at my life and the life of many other sisters, apostolic sisters, say, where do you get your energy from? Well, the energy comes from prayer. The energy comes from the life of the gospel, from living the scriptures within. And the wonderful thing about belonging to a community is that even if you're doing a job on your own, you know that you're never alone. As a religious sister, I've always got my community behind me, and I always take them with me, whatever I'm doing.
Of course, we don't pray all day, every day, although that's the ideal, but we also work as well. So we're enclosed, so we don't go out to work, we work within the monastery. So we do all the kind of usual things that people do, cooking, cleaning and laundry. And we also have a small farm. So we work on our grounds. I've learnt to drive our tractor. So we have 2 tractors at the monastery. They're a bit vintage, but they're very good and they help us to manage the land. So we've got quite a bit of land. We rent some land out to people who keep horses on our land, and we've got sheep, and we also we have a vegetable garden.
We cook the lunch, we clean the house, we have to do the office work that has to be done, the bursar has to do the books, we have to prepare rooms for our guests, we sit down we're available for guests to talk to. I go around on a Saturday morning and show people around who are interested in the history of this very old building and the ancient history of the house. So we engage with people in various ways like that. Our period of recreation, the community comes together, we have a cup of tea. In the summer we do a lot of processing our food that we grow in our own garden. But we might just, exchange the news of the day. We hear about people who might have called in with a prayer request. We get family news. Somebody has heard something really funny or exciting that they can share with the community. We try to have an atmosphere of silence, really. But then when we come together for recreation, that is a time to recreate, to kind of, not exactly let our hair down, but it's a time, recreation is a time for us a refreshing time, and where we can just enjoy each other's company.
From our morning prayer and our Eucharist, we are sent out to do our daily activities. So they are simple, but we do it with great love. Our mission is that we see Jesus and the image of Jesus in the people we serve and also in the people that we work with. So whatever we do to the residents here, we do it to God Himself. Our little tasks, they are as small as feeding a resident, assisting them in a walk, being with them, playing with them, something that makes up the life of the resident, a holistic care that we offer. But that little bit is done with a lot of compassion, mercy, and we are supposed to be witnesses of that in whatever we do.
We are called to bring this compassionate and mercy of the heart of Jesus to others. That's why first we need to experience ourselves this mercy and this compassionate love to us. So being transformed by Jesus, we are able to go to others and to express this love and this experience that we have with Him in small gestures.
Many sisters that I know are born communicators, and because they're communicators, they work or have worked in teaching, but also in writing, in journalism. That would include television and radio work. There is one congregation whose entire charism is communication, and that is the Daughters of St. Paul, who work in bookshops. They are wonderful producers of very beautiful books and posters and materials for catechesis for children, but also materials for adults. They don't just sell what helps faith, they actually help faith themselves. So I've noticed in their bookshops, people just walking in off the streets, having a mooch, looking interested. They always get a warm welcome. And quite often, they themselves will say, "Oh, I don't know what I'm looking for," or I don't know how to read the Bible, or I'm not sure what this is about. And very sensitively, the sisters will say, well, have you looked at this? Or what are your questions? They're open to people exploring faith in whatever way they have. That's the sign of a really good communicator and someone who's interested in other people.
So community means that we live together and we share the same type of life. So all the sisters in my community have made a commitment to live this life together. So as Benedictines, we make a vow to a particular community, and so I'm on a journey through the rest of my life with these women.
Community life is not easy, but it's also a challenge for us, as well as an opportunity to know each other and to live with people that we haven't chosen, but God has chosen to live with them.
For us sisters as well, the community is very important. We live our vocation in community. The call is personal, but we go in the name of the fraternity where we live. Whatever service we do, we know that we are doing in the name of the community.
One of the advantages of being a religious sister is that you don't have a husband and children to look after. Of course, that's a great gift to have a husband and children, but if you don't, it means you're not anchored having to stay at home and care for your family. You can be available where anybody sends you. You can pick up a suitcase and walk out of the door because you haven't got anyone at home who depends on you. And that's one of the advantages of religious life.
Some people can't imagine living this life at all. They think, oh no, prayer and not getting married, it's not for them, which is great. You know, everybody's got their own way of following the Lord. But if you feel that you might be called to religious life, I'd say discern about it, pray about it, speak to your priest or somebody who you trust about it, and really this life gives great, great joy.
The important thing is to get to know religious life, and by looking at other people living it and talking to them, getting to check out, well, is this what I'm feeling? Is this what I'm wanting?
I think a real mark of the monastic life, of any religious life, has to be joy. Because if we don't experience joy in our following of Jesus, then we can't hand it on, and the gospel is good news. So we want to be able to live the gospel as fully as we can, and we want to find ways in which we can share that.
Religious life and the church is something that's alive, that's moving. We live a very deep tradition, a very long tradition, some of us, of hundreds of years, but it's a tradition that's alive, and therefore a tradition that's about giving birth to new things all the time. So if you're interested in religious life, you may be interested in tradition, but you need also to be ready for an adventure.